Hey, and welcome back to this installment of Tech Ed Explainers. My name is Logan Sather, and I'm part of the technical education team at Web3 Foundation. Today, I'll be talking to you about the relationship between Rust, Substrate, and Polkadot. So if you've been learning about Polkadot, you've probably come across the terms Rust, Substrate, WebAssembly, and maybe even something like libp2p. You're probably wondering what these terms have to do with Polkadot. So, like with any complex piece of software, Polkadot is built on top of other technologies. The series of technologies that Polkadot is built on is called the tech stack. In other words, each technology is a layer of the stack, and Polkadot sits on top. So let's start toward the bottom of the stack with the programming language that Polkadot is built in. Polkadot is built in Rust. Rust is a systems-level programming language that aims to be fast, reliable, and efficient. Rust uses a programming semantic known as borrowing and allows it to be safer than other low-level programming languages such as C. One benefit of building Polkadot in Rust is that Rust has support for compiling code down to the binary code format WebAssembly. WebAssembly is a standard for portable programs that will run consistently across different systems and platforms. As you may be able to guess from the name, one of these platforms that WebAssembly supports is the web. WebAssembly is popular and supported by many of the big industry players such as Google, Microsoft, Windows, and Apple. Both Rust and WebAssembly are great fits for Polkadot, which needs to run a consistent client over differing platforms. By compiling the runtime into a common executable format, Polkadot is able to upload the runtime onto the chain. This is a key requirement of performing on-chain upgrades in an efficient way, as Polkadot does. So moving up the stack, the next major component is Substrate. Substrate is a framework for creating blockchains. Like Polkadot, it is also developed by Parity Technologies. The story of Substrate actually starts with Polkadot. When Parity was developing the Polkadot client, they realized that there are some common patterns that could be abstracted and make building blockchains much easier. Since Parity had already had experience by developing clients for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Zcash, they were able to identify which pieces, while they were building Polkadot, can be shared among other blockchains. So from out of the Polkadot codebase came Substrate, which is a collection of building blocks for creating blockchains, as well as standard implementations of common abstractions. The kind of things you'll find in Substrate include the networking logic, the transaction queue, the WebAssembly interpreter, and implementation of stuff like token balances. A developer can then come along and execute on their own blockchain application by leveraging Substrate, instead of implementing each one of these low-level pieces themselves. Substrate greatly reduces the time it takes to develop new blockchains down from months to days, or maybe even hours if you're developing a single runtime module. So finally, Polkadot is the employment of these various technologies into a workable and useful piece of software. It is built using the Substrate framework, which itself is built using Rust. While each layer of the stack is a complex program in itself, Polkadot is able to benefit from the properties lower down on the tech stack. The correct way to think about the relationship of Polkadot to Rust and Substrate is that Polkadot is a product, and Substrate and Rust are the tools that have been used to build it. This doesn't mean that Rust and Substrate are not products themselves, because they are. They are products of their respective development teams. However, if we consider the dependency graph of all three of these products, we see that while Polkadot depends on Substrate and Rust, and Substrate depends on Rust but not Polkadot, Rust depends on neither Polkadot nor Substrate. Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you learned something in this session, and I'll catch you next time.